Hello, guys. My name is Pedro, and this is Layer Explorer, where I get to invite one artist every week. And fuck, esqueço-me sempre das lines. Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Layer Explorer. My name is Pedro, and I've created this whole series just so I can invite all of my favorite artists and unpeel their Photoshop files or their whatever files they have and see what's in between all of the layers and get to explore all of their methods and the way they approach their own process. Today's artist is James Chapman. He's a good friend of mine. We met around 2018. It was my first job in the industry. I was working in Manchester, and yeah, we got along quite quickly since the moment I started the job. We would go to the canteen together for lunch. And I remember I would be taking a break from work whenever I wouldn't work at lunchtime. And James would literally whip out his sketchbook and draw or paint with those specific pens, just a whole illustration at lunchtime. And this would happen just casually. We'd be talking, he would finish his food, and then he would just do an illustration. And he did hundreds and hundreds of them. And I just find that I feel like I since I started drawing digital, I lost a little bit of this analog approach, and so I find it super impressive to keep up with James's work and the way he keeps drawing both digital or non-digital art. But yeah, we're gonna explore everything in the conversation. This is quite a long one. We get to talk a lot about his method, but mostly about the way he feels about art, the way he feels about approaching a drawing or motivation and stuff like that. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this conversation. But yeah, this is James. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Layer Explorer, where I invite some of my favorite artists and I watch them peel their... Is it unpeel or peel? Like when you unpeel something or you peel something?
I think you're unpeeling it. Yeah, you're unpeeling it.
Unpeeling it. So I watch them unpeeling. Yeah. I'm trying to do onion metaphors because the logo is going to be an onion.
Like Shrek. Yeah.
Exactly. And and I watch them unpeeling their Photoshop files layer by layer, and I see how the sausage gets made. I'm here with a good friend of mine, James Chapman. We work together in Manchester. I think you're probably the artist out of the artists that I follow, the one that draws analog,
Oh, okay. Yeah. I do like pen and paper. It's good fun.
Yeah. When I invited you to this, I was scrolling in your feed. I was like, okay, maybe I'll send a reference of a digital painting that you've done or something. Then I was like, whoa, this is all analog stuff. There's no that would be impossible to record the episode.
For a guy who doesn't use layers, I've had to go back in the past, but we'll get there. I'm familiar with layers. There's a reason I stopped doing them, though, as you'll see.
Okay, I'm curious. But yeah, so do you want to present yourself?
So hi, yeah, I'm James, and this is my picture I want to go through today. This is a picture I did for a kid's book a few years ago called Sounds All Around, and it's about onomatopoeia from different countries and different languages. And in this picture, the reason we're doing this picture is because there's a certain Mr. Pedro Martin in the picture. He's there. He's the star of the show. So I thought that it'd be fun to go through this and see how it all came together. Because it was a digital illustration, but I don't think I do things as normally as other artists do. Because I never really got into art through learning it traditionally. I just sort of learned by making mistakes and doing it wrong. And this is an example of I don't think you should do it this way, but you can do it this way. There's no wrong way to make art.
You do talk a lot about this sense of you don't need an excuse or you don't need this kind of very technical university approach, upbringing to do art.
Yeah, I do think that's important to remind people, because it's quite as a career, at least when I was growing up, it was oh, you got to be the best in the world to make any money in art, and like you need to go to the best schools, you need to train with the masters. Whereas I don't think they actually do. I think you can just be very passionate about it and just like do your own thing. And if you enjoy it and the passion comes through, hopefully people will come along with you and then sort of like follow you on your journey, which is quite, especially in like social media age, that's like definitely something that is an option that wasn't probably 50 years ago.
What do the reactions look like on like as you talk about these things? Do you have many people like telling their stories or agreeing with you or
I've
disagreeing
had
with you?
lots of people say that they've gotten into making art because like I've like not, I mean just shouted about it basically online. They've seen my videos and they're gone like, oh, it is actually doable, I'll give it a go. Like not people who've given up their careers like I did, but like people who have taken it up as a hobby, which is like the first step towards like putting more art into the world. And that's kind of like my end goal, is to make it so everyone's a bit of an artist, you know? So like if you're making something, you're having a great time, then that's like a net positive for the world. And so if I can help people by just like saying, just do it, it's wicked, then like I'm happy about that. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I think I definitely see that when I don't know, when I go back to Portugal and I talk with my family, there's always this sense of like, oh, you're so lucky. You were born talented. And I'm like, I really wasn't. I just kept drawing.
Yeah. That's absolutely the thing, because I think there was a long time, probably even to this day, to some people, I would say that like not good at drawing certain things. And it's like the only way you get better at it is by trying it again and again, basically, and practicing. Like I did a TikTok the other day that was like about like how everyone says that they can't draw, but like no one says they can't write. But it's the same basic principle. If you can draw like a letter Q, that's quite complicated compared to like you could draw a cat easily. Like it's the same level of complicated. Like
yeah,
and like because I did like an art class with like parents and children recently, and like when I asked the room like, oh, who here is good at drawing, and all the kids are like, I'm the fucking best at drawing, I'm the best in the world, and all the parents are like, no, I can't draw anything. And it's like at a certain point that switched where you just started thinking that you can't draw, when there's like at that age you had the confidence, whereas at age 40 you don't have the confidence. It's like there needs to be, you usually like remind yourself what it's like to be a kid and be like, oh yeah, I can do anything, like anything's possible. And that's like, you know.
And you just said that you had like a different path in your like career as you got into. I mean, I met you through the context of animation. I don't know how much animation you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, so like my career started I in art, like with when I first started working with you. That's my first job in art, was I worked as a background painter on an anime show that we will not name for legal reasons, but it was an interesting project, let's say. But before that, I was like thrilled to get that job because I didn't have the training. I'd been just practicing as a hobby for like years and years. It was sort of a career switch to go into art. But then since then, like I started posting more online of my own little pen and paper drawings, because like when you're doing background painting, you're doing anything like for animation, you are like staring at a screen a lot. And like I couldn't bring myself to do any more personal digital work in the evenings, but I could bring myself to like look at a bit of pen and paper and like try something different, like not stare at a screen, but still keep myself creative in the free time. And then over time that became the full time. And now that's all I do, is I just do like pictures and things. And aren't they fun? Look at that, it's Wallace and Gromit.
Wow. Actually, I have something to show you. Like it's one of the, I have a lot of like things like hanged on my wall, but I can show you my favorite thing that I will definitely frame it.
What is this?
Wait, this is the
oh, that's sick. I forgot about that one.
I look at it every day. It's like right in front of me, and it's just like I don't have a lot of original art in my room because I move. I move a lot, and this is like one of my treasures. It's like my first.
Really sweet. You kept that. That's very sweet. For the audience, that's a picture I did for Pedro for his birthday a few years ago,
and our squad.
Yeah, and it was a little thing that I sent in the post, and I think that's really good because like I think art is such a lovely gift to give, and I was thinking about that earlier, that like the bits that I look at most often of art that I've been given, like it is physical art. Because like people draw digital things. Like I've drawn digital things for people and say like, I did this for you. But like, unless you double click on it, you probably aren't looking at it. Whereas if you have a physical thing, like I have something in my flat of like things people have made. And I'm like, that's wicked. Like it kind of like is more present. And I think that's kind of like why I quite like making physical stuff. It's like, it's easier to give basically.
Okay, super. So let's get to the layers.
Right, yeah. Okay, so this is the painting I did, which is a bunch of clapping from around the world, and the layers. This is how it all ends up. But I'm going to remove all the layers. I'm going to turn everything off. Ding. Okay.
Okay.
Start with this. This is actually really beautiful. This is a little pattern that I always like to start with. It's white and grey squares, but then I like to hide it, so I put a little bit of a black background over the top of it.
Okay.
That's layer one, called background.
And is this usual? Is this normal? Like, do you usually start with like a darker tone?
No, I wouldn't. No, for this one, yeah, I'd say that it's basically dependent on the picture. So for this one, I knew it was going to be a dark scene, so I kind of didn't want any white background poking through and being really noticeable. So even if I did make a mistake and miss a corner, this would cover everything up. But on top of that, we have a low opacity layer, which is my pencil sketch, which I'm going to amp up, which is that. It's very messy.
Wow.
And as you can maybe see, the person who became Pedro was not always Pedro. At one point, they were this generic quiff man. But anyway,
wow.
This is just generally to get the size of the people, the general vibe on the page. And then...
Is this like a usual process that you do? You start with pencil and then you take a photo, or you just did... Okay.
I always used to do a little pencil rough version first, just to like... I never found it very easy to sketch on. At this point, I was doing on a Wacom, a little tiny tablet, so kind of like that, but worse. This was 2000. I bought it in 2012.
Is it
and it was
Intuos?
I don't think it was an Intuos. Hold on. Excuse me, viewers and listeners, while I have a see if I can find it. No, I can't find it. But it was as I wasn't drawing directly onto the page, I was drawing onto like the tablet and then seeing it on the screen. I always found it hard to sketch because I wasn't really looking what I was doing, and it was just a different process for me than what I was used to.
Interesting. Okay.
I liked doing pencil, and that's how I kind of learned drawing, was through pen and paper. And so I used to do it like this to begin with, and then tidy it up on the computer, because this is as nice as it is. It's not worthy of publishing, I wouldn't say. So,
right. Okay.
Because this was for a book, I always had to keep the composition very set. That like the middle section, this bit down here, was going to be completely not interesting, but like also not completely boring. So I just kind of like separated out to make sure I know which page was which, with a bit of a border around the edge, because things are going to be cut off as well. So like you always have to think about document size with print work, in that the edge is going to be lost, and the middle is not going to be that important. But just did that. The next layer, as like a very rough outline as to where the chairs will be, because I wanted the chairs to be actually nicely positioned, like a ring around the thing. And then I started putting in. Hold on, I'm going to go back.
Because probably like we are turning the layers from bottom up, but they probably don't reflect the chronological approach of how you approach the painting.
These ones that are in orange are not in the final version, but I was curious what they were. They're just basically little sketches of what I think might happen later on. So that one, it seems to be that's the lines of what I wanted the chairs to sort of follow, so that it had the composition that I wanted. And then that's a little something. But anyway, now we'll get into the meat of it. We'll turn off the invisible layers. They're out of here. We're going in chairs. We start off with some blobs. These might end up being chairs. And we add some shadow to them.
That's a good guess.
And for this, I used a shadow. I did a multiply. That just kind of lowered the colour of what I thought would be a nice theatre chair. And I thought that would make it a bit more shadowy. Okay, so the thing that will probably become quite clear as we go through this is that I'm not using groups or any kind of clipping masks or anything at all.
Legendary. Okay.
Because I didn't have them, because this was all done in Adobe Photoshop Elements 7, I think it was, which was just basically paint. It was just like, it had layers, but it didn't have groups, it didn't have clipping masks, it was basically just drawing things with the lasso tool and being like, yep, that'll do. Oh shit, what have I done?
Wow. Okay.
And like, so it was very rough and ready. So
when did you do this?
I did this in 2018.
2018, yeah. Okay, I remember that.
That's right. So I was working in animation at that point. So I'd learned all the techniques. I just used proper Photoshop for the first time in the animation studio. And so I was sort of aware of how bad this was at this point. I was like, oh, I shouldn't be doing it like this. I should be doing it proper. But this was like one of the last things I did before I upgraded to actually having Photoshop. But
interesting. Okay.
What I wanted to say was that, like, you don't need to have Photoshop. You can do nice things with like shit materials. And I think it's just like how you use them, and like you lean into the limitations of it. So like for this, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do anything really fancy with like gradients and clipping masks and all that kind of stuff. So we're now looking at the first characters that are coming into this scene. There's going to be people sitting around in an auditorium. And while we're not using layers, we are just sort of following the guide of the first initial pencil sketch, but like putting in like, so probably what I did here, they probably started off with an outline of where I want it to be. I colored it in red. I added a shadow layer, and then I did a bit more shadow behind what will be the characters I've put over the top. And so the layers at the moment, I'll do more of that. I'll go through what they actually probably went in like. So I wanted to add a cool guy here, and then he needed to have some general color on him, which I used fairly normal, not too extravagant colors at this point, because like they're background people, they don't want to steal focus. But then also I can lower that back down with the multiply layer, and then more of a shadowy personal multiply layer for their actual shadows.
And this was all done without adjustment layers.
Yep. Well, it has the
incredible.
So I put it on multiply and I did that, but like it's not clipped. It is the exact size of the thing that it is. It's like,
wow.
It's it's all lovingly painted up to the edge. Like,
wow, I respect I respect that. That's like a struggle there.
They don't have legs and they are very messy. So I hope
it will make sense in the end once we see the characters that are in front of them.
I didn't see the point in doing it, because these were probably done after I've done the
there
layers
you go.
in front, which are the next level of chairs, which then had, I'll do it again, some more cool people on. This is our friend Larissa.
Oh my god, yeah.
I gave her a tie. I think she likes Harry Potter and stuff, so I made her some kind of Harry Potter person, I guess. That's everyone we know on this page. This cool guy with a mustache. Love him. So far we have 2 layers of people, and we're basically just going to do this going through the whole shebang all the way up to the front till we get to Pedro.
Yeah, so block color of the seats, then we have the shadows, then we have the outlines, and then the character, and then you... Oh, wait, no, I recognize some people there.
You recognize some of these people. Let's put them in. So we have our friend Matt. And we have other
Matt.
Great stuff. Cool stuff. Now we've got another layer of chairs. Another layer of people. Who's that? Is that Anna? Is that our mutual friend Anna? Yeah,
I think it is Anna. This is so nostalgic, actually.
We're seeing a mistake here. This glasses, it wasn't fully covered in.
It looks like a shininess, you know?
Yeah. That's very generous of you, Pedro. That's that looks rough and ready. I'm sure it's covered up by something, but I can't remember what. Because a big thing about this picture was in the end that there would be speech bubbles over the top of it. So there's certain areas that are not included. So this area up top, that's where the title of the page is going to be. And then there's like the middle section is kind of not that exciting. It's like it's got one guy in it. But mostly I try to keep people at either one side of the gap. And then
do you do the speech bubbles? Do you do the speech bubbles in your sketch, or you do mostly composition and then you add the speech bubbles?
So like I have the composition from the start. So let's say this was the pencil sketch, and then at the end I kind of like have like a text template type thing like this, and then I can like sort of position it around to sort of like say there's going to be one here, there's going to be one over there, and then the final thing. This is going to be a fun game, finding out where the text is. Oh, there we go. So yeah, that's where the end is at the final.
Yeah, we don't see that. We don't see the glass.
Yeah. So like that's covering up some people, covering up the glass, covering up the poor mustache, man. What a waste! What a waste of a mustache. Anyway,
what a waste of a mustache indeed. Yeah, this is like still kind of background, midground.
Yeah, have, like... but in general, like what would probably happen, most likely, is I had it at some point like this, like just when it didn't have the multiplier, it was just set out as a general picture. You know, like there was a general vibe going on, and then I did add the multiplier to sort of bring it back down to be more like, more cohesive as a background. Still keeping the good variety of color in what the elements were, but like uniting everything with the same sort of multiply technique. So this is the most important layer. The most important layer of all. Who's that boy?
Oh, I know this boy. Wait, I know the boy. I think I know the boy next to him too.
You know this guy, and I think you know this guy.
Yeah. The two next to him, actually.
Why this picture came to be was because working with such lovely people like Pedro and his friends, they were a chaotic group and they really entertained me every day. And I thought that it would be nice to give a tribute to his boys. So
it was a hell of a squad there.
Oh, yeah. I must have changed you. You were blue and I changed you to a yellow. I think that's true there. You are more of a yellow. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do love yellow. So...
yeah, that's the vibe that you gave me at the time. That's the one I saw, Pedro. That's what I saw in my mind. And I still see it to this day.
It's perfect.
But sadly, your beautiful legs and lower arms are going to be covered by some more people. Yeah. So looking through these layers, this does look like a nightmare because if I was a real person now, what I'd do, I'd put them in groups. Oh my God, it's so much easier to do it this way, isn't it? Wow. Everything makes sense. And then you can like turn them off as and when.
As an entire row.
Brilliant. Oh yeah, we love that. But that was not an option for me. So this is like, not only was this how I did this one, this is how I did every page in this. I think it was like 140-page book, maybe.
Oh my
And it was
God.
all done in this. It was all done on like a pretty tight deadline while I was still working at the full-time job.
I remember that, yeah. And they are all crowd shots.
Then yeah, they all do have a lot of people in them. Like, not to jump ahead, but like to open up a random other one, let's call out some turkeys, for example. Like, yeah, there's always a lot of stuff happening in each one, and they all have absolutely chaotic layers in them. So, like, this is not a recommended way of working, but it does kind of work if you squint. Now, these are some invisible layers. Do you know what these are?
Is this just so you could do the selections? Like,
probably, yeah. I think I probably had like a layer like this, so then I could then, at a whim, just like select it, maybe.
Yeah.
And then color in within that using
so you simulate an adjustment layer just by like having the selection like on the pixel. Interesting.
So that's how it looked as a background. But then as I still wanted the foreground to be a bit more foregroundy, I kind of lowered everything back down a bit further with some more multipliers. And then added a stage at the front. So now I think there's a bit more of a contrast between the front and the back, and it hopefully works a bit more better as an illustration. A shadow beneath someone. Who could it be? An outline for the stage. A bit more glow, and then get ready for it. Ka-chow!
Wow! Lights
Ka-chow.
On. Whoa!
Ka-chow! Who's that? Who could it be on the stage? it's just some person singing a great song. We love it. And that is, again, I probably started off with a nicely labeled singer layer with the outline. And then, then I would have colored them in and then added a little bit of multiply to keep them looking nice. So that's the final illustration itself. But then, considering it was for a book, you need to have some words on it. So I have my speech template, this is an example of a different page in the book, which is about horses. So that kind of gave me the idea of like how big the text should be and how padded the text boxes should be around it.
Incredible.
Because otherwise you don't have one that looks one page where everything's a bit small, one page where everything's big text in a even big, you want to keep it all kind of consistent.
I see, yeah.
And so what I did is I add a white layer on top of everything so I can draw a bit more freely. And then got these lines to keep my text in order. And then I handwrite all the text and put it into these boxes.
You hand wrote the text?
Yeah. So I would hand draw the text. So those O's are not the same O. Those R's are not the same R. It's all
very subtle, but it looks very charming. Like the fact
some would say it was a waste
change,
of time, but I did spend a long time doing it.
I don't think it was I don't think it was a waste of time at all. I think
just because I didn't want it to look. I wanted it to look like a comic, I wanted it to look hand drawn, which did mean having to hand draw it, which at the time probably wasn't the best use of my time, but I think I still am very proud of this book. I think it looks cool, and I'll go with it.
How long do you say it took this whole painting from like the pencil, the first line you did in the pencil in like the sketchbook?
That's a good question. I don't really count that time as time particularly spent on the book, but I guess it was. This final illustration, though, from sketch to finished, I think about 6 hours. I'm thinking 6-7 hours.
Incredible. Yeah. Like how it's such a detailed painting in one day.
What's that one? Ooh, what is that?
Those are like...
I don't know what that is. I definitely wanted to add someone else in, but apparently in the time frame, I didn't. I think that was supposed to be someone, but I can't remember who. Who could that have been? Who do I know?
Don't know.
I don't know anyone. Then we have to add, so we have all the languages. I didn't handwrite these every time, but like if I knew something was Japanese, I'd be like, put the Japanese next to the Japanese name, put the English next to the English name, that kind of thing. That was a layer called languages, which then goes on everyone. So we can see clap, clap in English, proc, proc in Indonesian. This was all basically researched from like a lot of online Googling, a lot of asking people that I know, a lot of being very annoying. If I met someone who spoke Russian, I would be on them. I'd be like, please tell me what sound a frog makes. Tell me. And I'd like cross-reference these with like weird YouTube videos. It was great fun.
So do you have any funny stories of like interactions you've had with people while trying to get all of these sounds from different countries?
Yeah, there was a lot of them. So I used to like work in a physics lab and like everyone was very international, and I'd be like very like, I'd just grab people who spoke different languages and be like, please tell me what sound a frog makes or whatever. But like the best way to get like correct information I found was to post something wrong on the internet, because people would correct you about it immediately. Like you can Google something for like 8 hours and you won't get it. But then if you post something online that you think is right, if it's not right, they'll absolutely let you know. So it's kind of like a work in progress to like my Tumblr was like I'd post something, it would mostly be right, but I'd get a correction and then I'd post it again and it would be perfectly right until I took all the information that I'd got and I put into this book of like, these are collaborated, kind of, it is a collaboration between me and like pedantic people on the internet who really wanted to make sure there was no incorrect information, which is like such a joy to like have those people in the world. So yeah, that's kind of how it came together. And also another one is that K-pop songs were really helpful as well. There's loads of like songs about animals in K-pop that they all just like make the noise of the animal during the chorus. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got really into K-pop for a while through that, which was weird. Wow. A weird way to get into it. That's not usually how people find it, but it was a useful educational tool. That's what K-pop is.
That's brilliant. Yeah. And I imagine like it must be the coolest. By the way, guys, I just to make this clear, like James was like the coolest person working in that. Like when you work in like a designer team, most people are quite cool. Most people like have quite a trained eye. James was like, we could switch off all of the lights in the studio, and James would.
Keep glow. What can I say?
James would illuminate the studio, and like he was like the coolest kid in there. Okay, like
thank you. That's very kind and definitely untrue, but I appreciate you saying it. I think I have a few more layers. Do I? I have a few more layers because in this I have my languages, I have my text template, a great text template. And then, what do we have over here? I wanted to add like a mascot, like a character to like guide people through the book. And I wanted the character to be a sound, but like I wasn't sure how to design a character that was because sounds aren't, it's hard to draw a sound. I went for this kind of like pop type thing with a cool little face on it. And then I'd usually make them say something sassy or like vaguely entertaining. What a show. And so all this clapping, they're very impressed with the show. I wish I had hands. Great stuff. And that, if I turn off my white layer,
that's amazing.
That is generally the page, I think. And then I would have added the applause title and then probably like another thing that said like clapping, it's fun to do. And then like that would be like the page probably. I can't remember what I put, but like let's assume it was that.
And it did 140, you said.
Oh, there, clapping, it's fun to do. Anyway, yeah, I did loads of these. There was loads of fun.
Wow. How long did that take you overall then? Well, 1 per day, 140 days, but I'm sure they did not.
If I sort the files by finished, so I must have. No, wait, hold on. Because this was a book for a publisher, I had to submit like draft versions, I think. So I think at some point I just did the line work and then I went back and colored it. So this would have gone to the publisher as like, this is what I think will be on page whatever. And then they would have said, get rid of it. Because one of the pages, where was it? I definitely had one that was wrestling because I wanted to have the sound of like thumping and like, like a punch sound effect, like thwack or whatever. I wanted that to be in there. This page didn't make it in because they said it was too violent, but I think it's cool. I think it's
wow. And what does the sound say in this page?
Thud. So in English we have a wrestler getting thudded to the ground. French, patatra, psh, gdong, klabonk, klop. They're great sounds. But I think they decided that for a kid's book, someone getting kicked in the face might be too much. So that didn't go in. But like this one did.
But what about the sound guy, the sound like the little sound character that is like on the corner? Yeah. What does he say on the
that one? He said, because I think on that point it was after like a sword fight page, and it just said, the last few pages have been so fighty. Can't we all just get along? But yeah, no. Get kicked in the face.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did a lot of those. I did, looking at that, it looks like I started it in January 2019.
Okay.
And I finished the final finished document like 6 months later, maybe. Hard to say.
Wow. 6 months, like... Wow. I mean, you do draw, like, I remember... One of the things that I was thinking that I definitely want to mention was that, like, when we were working at this company in Manchester, there was like an eating, kind of like a canteen area, like a common area with all the different studios, and James was always drawing. Like, we would go for lunch, we would eat, and James was always drawing with pens that I'm not sure I can say their names, so you can tell me.
Let's just say they make that sound.
Chicka 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 chicka. And now I'm thinking about like, how would I write that sound?
Oh yeah, exactly. Impossible. Yeah, I used to draw a lot, and I think it's kind of I was thrilled to be able to draw as much as that because like I would always just do it in the time between work anyway, like when I wasn't working in art. So then the fact that I got to work in art, that didn't stop me drawing in between work. There'd still be something silly I wanted to draw to post online or something. And that was
incredible.
I love posting stupid stuff online. It's great fun.
Yeah, me too. Because I feel like some people, when drawing goes from like a passion to a job, then it gains a different type of weight. And do you feel that way now that you've been working and you've been drawing for like, you said you started in 2018, 2017, is that what you said?
Yeah, so I started trying to draw as a career in 2015, but I don't think I was doing very well at it at that point. I just wasn't really I hadn't really found the success that I wanted to. I was really enjoying what I was doing, but I wasn't really feeling fully fulfilled by the whole thing. It wasn't until I found a job working with our dearest Pedro that I really kind of clicked into this is kind of there's different areas of art that I can really sort of delve into. There's the digital side, which is more in a studio space. You are working as part of a team, and it feels a lot more like you're making something massive. And then there's the stuff you can do personal, and I was trying to do improve my own skills through sketchbooking and stuff at that point to just sort of improve myself so I could bring all of that into the other sides of the work. And then they were all sort of feeding into each other. I was taking the techniques that I kind of got from digital work, putting them into physical media, and then the other way around. It was all kind of nice little symbiotic relationship.
It's
cool.
Quite impressive, the way you have, I mean, I think you do a rough sketch before you start painting with the pens, but you just put the color is pretty much final. Every line you do is a final line, and that's
so as an example,
incredible.
So let's go back to I don't know how good the footage is, but we will show it anyway. The Wallace and the Gromit, these fellas, that started off as a pencil sketch, but then I always do a little color test run. So that is where I
okay.
That's them there.
You do a color script.
Then when I'm actually painting it is kind of I've already run through all the mistakes in my head. I'm oh, don't do that. That's going to look rubbish. Do this over here. And then it kind of all kind of comes together in the final thing. But it kind of just sort of the efficiency of the process, because I wasted a lot of time, a lot of paint doing things wrong in the past. But now I'm on I don't know, I've done hundreds of paintings that that I've learned a lot from each one and kind of brought it to the next one. It's kind of just been a general work in progress, which is my career. Yeah.
I'm listening to you, and I'm I bought a canvas in Portugal, and it was just sitting against my desk, and I'm okay, no, I need to do something. I wanna do something analog, and hang it on the wall, or just give it to someone, or
yeah, it's a different world. But I think the things that you do, I look at them because you work in ways that I can't imagine, and I just I look at your work and think how can I do that? That's 10 years beyond what I'm capable of at any moment. You to animate something a full little short film is it's crazy how much you managed to get done. So I think we're all just looking at each other's skill sets and being oh, I wish I could do that.
Interesting.
Whereas what we're really doing is developing our own skill sets that are individual. I think it's good that we are very different creatives, but we both do connect mentally. I'm this guy's doing cool shit.
Yeah, I think so too. But I cannot hold a short film in my hands. And I think finishing things, I remember when at uni, when I started thinking about that, the important thing is that I do finish things.
Yes.
And all the short films that I've done in the past, none of them were a happy process all along. They came from a happy place, but then once you get to the technical bit, production bit, or even painting series, everything that you do that takes more than, I don't know, 2 hours, you get to a point that okay, this is not super fun at the moment, but I'm going to trust the decision that I made, that the Pedro from the past made, to finish this, and I'll finish it, and I know that I'm going to enjoy having it finished. At least that's how the process feels with me. I don't know how it is.
I really relate to that. Having something finished, it takes the burden off you that it that time wasn't wasted. You finished the thing that you made, and even if you're not fully, I mean, just like putting the time into finishing it makes it mean more, I think, than like if you just left a half finished. Because I have many half finished things in like folders on this computer that are like, I'll come back to that one day, and it's been like years and I haven't done. And like, the odds are I'm not going to, because I think as you evolve as an artist and you move forward and you develop your skills, you're less eager to go back to the past. I think you kind of want to keep making new stuff, and like if you can finish the new stuff, then that's something you can put in the back pocket. Like, oh, wicked, I did that. It's done. And so I quite like doing like the small projects, like a little tiny thing, finish it, and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
This is what like my paintings, which I do in like a day, easy breezy. But that's why the idea of making a short film, which obviously is like, I imagine, and it could be an infinite process, like to make a short film, like
blood, sweat, and tears.
Really want to like polish every corner, like you could do it forever. But like to actually call it a day and say that is done, that's something that like I would struggle with, I think.
Yeah.
Do you struggle with that?
I don't do many things that I can finish in a day, I think. And I guess like these Pokemon, like this Portuguese Pokemon series, in theory, I could finish them in a day, like one character design in a day. But I do them while live streaming, and the live streams are about 1 hour and a half. Sometimes I can finish something within the live stream. Yesterday was a case of that. Sometimes it takes me 3 different live streams to finish it. I think for me, what I'm kind of discovering is more this sense of like doing something collectively. So when I'm painting the Pokemon, I'm also chatting, and my friends come in and they give me their opinions, and we chat a bit of shit. And then like I talk about something random, and then they tell me about this. Oh, check this other animal, and I bring the print screen to that, and I talk about it, and it becomes like an experience. And I feel like one of the things that I missed with animation is more that physical aspect of like I can make a film in a sense of like I can sit down at my desk for 4 months, not leave the desk, and I finish a film. 2 months, I can do that in 2 months, depending on how big the film is. But the more and more I do that, the more I prefer the community aspect of making art, or like the fact that I'm talking with you, the fact that I am like, this is a more collective experience. And same thing with making the Pokemon series while streaming, or making the other paintings while streaming. It's like, it takes a little bit away that like, oh, I'm by myself in silence drawing for like 4 hours in my room. I already do that for like,
it brings people along with you, I think. To like to have that, and that's kind of like it informs the art as well, because you can see what people are responding to, what people like, and you kind of like, oh, this is fun. I like this. They like this. I'll keep going on this track. It's quite a nice way to do it, because I think it is tempting to go into isolation and be like, I'll just do this one thing. I'll make my masterpiece, and then I'll show the world. But like, there's no guarantee that anyone will particularly care about your masterpiece. It could just be completely self-indulgent nonsense. But like, if you bring people along with the journey, you can kind of let them, you can still stick to your true idea of what the masterpiece was, but you can show people how it came to be. You can bring people along with you. And that's kind of like, I think as we're trying to communicate something through art, that's kind of a really helpful way to do it, is to not shut people out from it, to bring them in, I think it sounds like streaming really does that like really well, because I've never really gotten into streaming, because
I think you would rock it so much. I really think like have a camera pointed at your desk as you are drawing live. I think like, honestly, I think you would like, if you would stream, then that would further humanize you and kind of further that the thing you talk about like anybody can do this, and people would say like, one of my favorite artists, I now I watch him paint and draw with this like colorful pens, and I see all of the flaws, but the painting at the end is amazing.
You're so right. That is true. And I think that's something that I need to be more like, definitely more careful of, because if I am presenting a perfect version of the picture and the process on social media, that might get more views, but it is also disingenuous to be like, look how beautiful every choice was that this artist made. Because I see a lot of them, and it's always like someone's just done the most beautiful portrait, and it just looks like it took them 3 minutes. But it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know that is true.
Yeah,
I don't know.
see.
Maybe some people are like that, but I'm definitely not. I'm like
Yeah.
ratty and clawed over and hunched in a corner, painting like a little gremlin.
Yeah, like the people were like, "Oh, I just did this like quick, like 20-minute sketch," and then it's like this brilliant painting, like super detailed, and I'm like,
Yes, that always used to really annoy me when I was like first starting art. Is seeing on social media something quick warm up sketch. It was like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
anyway, that's just my rant
But
about
yeah,
warm up sketches.
that's a brilliant like ending note. Just you don't need a warm-up sketch, just do the sketch. Nice. Okay, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for being so open to do this. We had a couple of technical issues, like in the beginning, in the middle, in the end, and you were always like super patient with
It was cool. I really enjoyed it.
with everything. I didn't have to do anything. We just carried the conversation
Hell
beautifully. It's been a pleasure. But tell us, look at the camera. Tell us what's going on in your life. How can people find you? Tell us all the relevant information.
Okay, cool. So I am available on every website. Just type in James Chapman, and there's a good chance I might pop up. I'm on TikTok, and I do some art lessons, which are always fun. And my shop on Etsy is basically the best way to like get my stuff. Or you could join my film club, which is really fun. We have it on Patreon, and every month we watch a cool film, and I'll send you some art of it and some puzzles and some cool stuff. It's a great fun time. I don't know how to plug myself, but don't forget to like and subscribe.
Nice.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
Super. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Wait.
And guys, go check James's artwork. He already left you with all the links, and that's it.
Yeah. I was going to say, check out the cool work of Pedro Martins. It's available on TikTok.
That's true. That's true. I
Yeah.
put since
I
yesterday.
like the videos on TikTok. You should like the videos on TikTok. They're really good.
And that's it, folks. Go check my work too. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.